All right, Salvador, we are here with Salvador Aguilar from Monarx, and we are here to talk about the recent State of WordPress Security white paper we did together. Actually, you guys contributed a malware section to the white paper, which I thought was really interesting stuff. And basically today, I just want to dive into it a little bit and get like your expert commentary on some of the main findings from the paper.
So my name is Salvador Aguilar, but I go by Sal Aguilar, which is easier to pronounce. I'm working for Monarx. I lead the threat research team. And before that, I work in the hosting industry and as well in other security companies. And it's always been a passion of mine working in security and trying to help protect the web because there's so many issues and threats out there. So it's really good. It's really rewarding for me. I'm that weird that I find it very rewarding to help people that I don't know, but it's really interesting. And I live in Mexico, but I work remotely for the last, I don't know, almost more than 15 years before even remote was cool. So it's been such a ride and I'm really happy to be here.
So how many years in cybersecurity actually?
I've been working in cybersecurity for the past 10 years. Yeah, for the past 10 years, I was working for Sucuri. And then I joined a hosting company and where I started their malware team and their abuse team. And now I'm with Monarch, like with the threat research team. I think it has evolved very interesting. Before, I used to see a lot of targeted exploit for cPanel, like was the most known cPanel. And then the WordPress started being a big thing. It started growing rapidly, massively. And then people started like targeting WordPress with different vulnerabilities. And then I saw like a huge spike on fake plugins. And this came in hand with the launch and the rise of AI. So now you see like random plugins that upload via zip files that have like really random names and that have polymorphic strength. So the same function, the same structure, but the functions have different names, but they have the same thing. And due to the amount of things that they've done, it's just LLM just skyrocketed the different kind of malware that they see. And when we do like some of our threat research on Telegram's channel and stuff, we see a lot of people like selling like malware GPT, phishing GPT or something, like selling you phishing kits or LLMs that actually can help you generate quicker, like with a few prompts, like your phishing kit for Netflix, for Gmail, for Outlook. And so that has grown very rapidly. So it's really interesting to see how everything is going. And LLMs are really good if you know how to use them, but it also can be very bad if they are misused or they are manipulated to actually do bad things. So, yeah.
Which is, I'm sure, malicious attackers are jumping on this LLM bandwagon because it is making things a lot easier for them as well.
The phishing kits they will sell them and just put your name, put your email or your Telegram bot and your Bitcoin wallet stuff. Now it's just full thing generated. Just give you a prompt and it will just, if you want in Spanish, in German, in something, and it will just generate it so they can do it out there.
Yeah. Going to the white paper questions. So let's dig into the actual white paper data. So I want to start with something tested.
It's interesting because one of the biggest holidays that bad actors or threat actors like target is like the biggest US sales, which has cascaded into other countries, which is the Black Friday, Cyber Monday. So there's a lot of people. Statistics tell you like people spend more money on Black Friday than what they do on Christmas. So bad actors also catch that. They also read the news. So they target it and they prepare their attacks, their bots, and the provision or their botnets actually start attacking before that time so that they inject either check out credit card skimmers, or they try to exfil all the information or try to reroute people to this targeted ad to make some revenue, or even like those cons that they send you, yeah, we have your website, we have your information, send Bitcoin or we're going to delete everything, which pretty much sometimes is just a scam. But yeah, those are what we're targeting because most of this threat actor, their motivation is financially. So they're looking to make the most out of it. And when the most people are actually buying stuff is during like Black Friday and the holidays. So that's the most profitable time for them to actually target e-commerce websites.
It's like the salmon spawning season where the salmon are swimming up the river to those spawning sites and the bears are just waiting there, basically going. The river is
exactly, yeah. That's a perfect analogy.
Just a good time. Yeah. But I think we talked about this earlier before, but also I think it was you who said it, that it's hackers are also taking advantage of the time where people are like during Christmas, they're on holiday. So everybody's like winding down and support teams, maybe not paying attention anymore. So it's a good time to.
Yeah, it's a human factor as well. Like you're in holiday season, you're in holiday mood. You're at least in the US, you go for Thanksgiving, you travel for the family. There's a lot of traveling in the middle. So like IT security stuff is low staff, like the IT guys. You will see the meme like whenever it's holiday, the IT guys just running the servers. It's a similar thing, like you're low staff. So you need to, that's why we live in a different era right now, that we actually need to have proactive security to actually make sure that we are not only protecting ourselves, but also protecting our customers. Yeah, so one of the uploader is like one of the basics families that we have in the malware world. The uploader basically allows like any third party to upload or put a file to the server, whatever that file is, without any type of protection, any type of filtering. For example, in the WordPress world, when you try to upload a file, there's some security controls, some safeguards that actually prevent you to upload any type of file, especially PHP files. But then when you put, and this is like what we've been seeing, when people push fake plugins, and the fake plugins are pretty much like uploaders that allow the third party, the threat actor, or anybody that has access to that to actually upload any type of file, which can be either a replicator, a dropper, a skimmer, or something like a web shell, which allows the third party to have full control of the server, of the system. They can see the CPU, they can trigger attacks to third parties, they can upload, they can create crons, they can run crypto miners on the server. So that's why uploaders like an upward trend. So they push a lot of fake plugins that included that option, that included like a form where you can upload any type of file, or even a file manager, for example, a simple file manager just for threat actors to upload. Because like, for instance, WordPress, Magento, now they don't have that built-in capabilities. They require like a third party, or either a plugin like WP File Manager, which is also deployed to actually upload different kind of malware by threat actors. So it's really important to actually understand why the uploader is the first vector of attack, because it opens the door. It's not just leave the door open for anything else, and all the rats come in.
Yeah, but it's like a news thing, or is it something like, that's what I was wondering, like why now? Why did it go up?
I think, and this is based on what we saw on our data, we were not seeing like very high amount. What we were seeing mostly was compromised accounts, and then on WordPress, and then uploading files, uploading fake plugins, and then the plugins were replicating or doing injectors on the pages. So when you go to the website, it will go to a third party. But then we saw, and I think that might be triggered as well because of the holidays, is a new trend that, hey, if we're doing like fake plugins, why don't we include like an uploader for us to actually upload anything else that we can think of? We attack the site, we compromise it, then we leave the door open in case something else comes up. We come up brand new novel malware. We can actually push it that way. It works like an entry. So that way we can actually go ahead and put more malware into it. It pretty much for me is a sense of persistence for them to actually allow them to reinfect the site easily on a different way if the previous one was already taken out. The Log360 includes like different features. One of them, of course, is a persistent. It hides on memory on when it's running PHP. So even if you clean the site, you already have something in memory. Some of the strings, or the strings that we've seen, they also have run that hides itself and runs every certain time. So every certain time that it runs, either you clean the site, the cron will actually go ahead and reinfect the site as well. And they hide themselves in very specific or very like sensitive PHP files, like WordPress index PHP, like WP load, WP settings, or like pages that are actually rendered each time that you load up page within WordPress. So that if you have, for instance, if you clean the index PHP, but also the WP settings is infected, you always, and somebody's visiting the site, the visitor, whenever it's like visiting and doing the page rendering, it's going to reinfect the site and make sure that the site remains infected. So that's why it's very hard to actually stop it. So sometimes what we have to do is actually either stop the PHP or Apache, or block all traffic, so to avoid the persistence, and then go ahead and apply all the different changes to actually mitigate all the risks altogether, clean the crowns and everything. But that comes along with unexpected downtime sometimes for the customers, which is something not ideal, but sometimes it's just necessary to actually make sure that we get rid of everything.
Yeah. Well, I was looking at like how prevalent it is. I mean, looking at the graph, and maybe like in post production, we can have the graph on the screen or something like that. It appeared to be like almost all of malware was that. So is
It
it
was
fair to say that?
it was the biggest strand as well, and with all the different variations, because like it, the different variations were actually things have been it's been evolving, and now with LLM, I've seen like if I look for WSL for just for the month, I will see at least, and I'm not joking, like more than 1,000 different variations. It's really interesting. There's not that we have a huge amount of threat actors, it's just the same actors doing different variations, trying to bypass security controls, trying to bypass or trying to ignore or fool all the AV engines that are out there to actually make sure that they can pass and infect the site. So it's always evolving. I always see like different variations. Oh, this is WSL. So this is the family. So just added that new string and we keep tagging them. So it's gonna become. It's been such a ride to have such a visual because I can see like from different hosting partners. Before I was coming, like I was in just for one hosting partner, and now just for different ones to see how everything changes. So it's really been interesting. You can get like a flu shot, like an influenza shot, but there's so many different strengths that you're only protected by this A, B, and C, for example, but you're not protected by D, E, and F, for example. And then we come in and evolve in different vaccines, different methods to actually catch them all. So it's always like a game of whack-a-mole. It's a cat and mouse kind of game. So it's always interesting. Always keep us on our toes and always do our work and always have fun when we actually hunt them down. Oh, this is a new one. So let's find out what we've seen and try to make sure that we anticipate to what they can variate next.
So a little bit of a technical question into actually what Monarch does, because malware cleanup is something that you do quite well with. Like, how do you get rid of something like this? And is it like something that you basically continuously have to evolve your own like scanners then to find these? So you're
One
part
of the
that
unique
cat and mouse game.
one of the unique things about Monarchs is the approach that we have. Unlike traditional like signature based, let's call it Yara or something, that you actually run a manual scan each on demand on the server, and it will just flag you the files. Or we have like our agent. We have that our system is made of two different components, like the agent that sits on the server that actually scans all the files, and we have the PHP send extension where actually sits in the middle, right in the middle. So between PHP and the CPU. So whenever there's something that passes through us, we even if it's obfuscated, we don't see the obfuscation. We see what it's actually doing, the behavior, which is what matters. So it can be obfuscated all the different ways, but after the obfuscation mode is what we're actually looking for. We actually have the ability to actually look what it's actually doing and then identify those AS3. So actually that sequence of what it's doing, so we can map that. Okay, this is a bad sequence because it's trying to write or trying to read the what is called the etc.temp or the etc or the temp directory. So this is something that can be bad. And so we go and catalog those kind of things, those little pieces, so we can go ahead and make all the different back traces and have a good understanding. So we have our engine is also using LLMs and machine learning to actually have a better understanding of how malware is classified. So every time that we classify it and we review something, okay, this part of this file is bad, that gets thrown to our neural engine, and then it goes back through all the different files that we see, and we have a catalog of all the files. So if there's something bad, our engine actually goes to each of the agents, each of the servers that it has a bad file, and tells, hey, this file is bad. Let's go ahead and clean it. So that's the difference. If I find something that is new, that is a novel malware injection that I was not seen before, just like I did 2 or 3 days ago, I go ahead and flag it. Within 15 minutes, all of our hosting partners are clean. And if they get that malware or that something uploaded to their site, the agent's going to recognize it. Hey, not here. Goodbye. And you will do the measure. So it helps you because you're not going to have to do you're not going to have to wait for 24-hour scan or doing on-demand scans or something because it's real time. So that's a huge difference because it's like on time, like it's the runtime that we have. And we also have the core AV, which also helps a lot. So that's one of the core differences that we have. But now to address the specific question for site cleanups is when we actually go and we review the files. And we first identify all the files that we see that were not pre-identified. We review the database, we review that the site's loading well, and then we apply all the rules at once. We review processes, we kill processes first when we're doing the cleanups, and then we make sure that everything is clean. And if something gets reinfected and it was already clean, it will continue to be clean as well. One of the biggest issues that we have with WordPress, most of the things that we've seen right now, it's due to compromised credentials and vulnerabilities. So those are the two things that we always suggest customers. One, we provide them a list of outdated plugins, which is what Patchstack does really well, blocking and patching, doing the virtual patching for all the vulnerable plugins and themes. And then we tell them, hey, you have to rotate all your passwords because it's important actually to mitigate this risk. And if possible, do Captcha and do 2FA to actually further mitigate this as well.
That's so true, because it's like, again, simple things like passwords. Like you can have, Patchstack is pretty advanced, but passwords, 2FA. It starts with the basic security hygiene that your users have, not giving every scroll writer admin access, all those things, right? So you have to take those steps as well, because it's not just vulnerabilities.
The weakest chain of the security process, which is the humans, which is us. We are the low-hanging fruit. We are the ones that keep the password on post-its on our computers, on notebooks that we leave on the table, and we leave our computers unattended, on blog. So there's a lot of things that we can do, but it's also require a lot of education from us and a lot of discipline to improve our security hygiene as well.
Yeah.
So just to give you like the Parrot TDS, or it's pretty much JavaScript snippet that is injected on every single JavaScript files of a WordPress site. So that's why it's a huge amount. For instance, a WordPress site can have a minimum of like 10,000 files, and out of them, probably around 30% are JavaScripts, because themes, plugins, even WordPress core has a lot of JavaScript files. So if you have that, so you have like at least 1,000 to 2,000 files per website injected with that specific snippet, which has varied from the past. It's usually either a redirector sending customers to a third party where they display ads and trying to monetize the traffic from third parties. We've seen other variations where they're just trying to exfil login data, or strengths that where they actually try to pretty much. The evolution for this is a ClickFix. The ClickFix is what we've seen also on the rise when there's a fake Windows a browser up there, or a fake Captcha, CloudFlare Captcha that we've seen on the site. Hey, why is my website? I don't use a CloudFlare. Why do I see a big CloudFlare Captcha on my page? And that's because somebody logged in and infected the site with this ClickFix, which is what I call the evolution, the next step of the Parrot TDS infection. And then the customer said, hey, I can't get out of this. And there's just a fake page that is being injected. But it's pretty much, that's why it's so popular, it's so big, because they upload a file, either be an uploader or a site plugin, and that file is called the replicator or the injector, which is actually goes and scan each JavaScript file, and it has the payload that has it already there, or it gets it from a C2 server, and then boom, adds that to the end of every single JavaScript file. That's why it's very popular. Because it's very aggressive.
And it's hard to clean up as well, because it's like injections into files.
It takes time when you have the proper, and you identify like the process and everything. We already have, I don't know, like 100 rules for the different variations. When we identify something and it's a JavaScript file, it just takes 1 or 2 seconds to clean each file, maybe less depending on the size. But it's just a massive work if we had to do it manually, or if we had to trigger manually. Right now that we have all the automated rules, whenever with the engine identify, oh, this is this, I'm going to go ahead and clean. And that's the beauty of it. It offers you a scale. It offers you to reduce support, because actually if the site is infected and we know it, we'll act right on it. You don't have, the customer might not even notice that we're infected, and you might not even get a ticket from them, talking if you were a hosting company, because we already took care of it. They can see it on a console, for instance, but they might not even notice that they were infected. So that's the beauty of it. It basically reads where the visitor is coming from. It reads like the user agent, like what platform is it? Is it on Mac, on Linux, on Windows? It reads, where is it coming from? Is it coming from the same page? Is it coming from Google? Is it a human, or is it a bot? Is it like is it Bing? Is it Google? Is it OpenAI? We've seen like strengths that they are now checking if they're for LLMs, if they're Yandex or any other bot or Href and all those SEO tools. And they only present the red rate if they're humans. They mostly ignore. We've seen some that are actually targeting Windows customers, and now there's a new stream right now that's targeting Mac computers. So Mac users will get like a different, like your Mac is infected or something, and they will actually have they'll be prompted for action. So it's good because it gathers all that information and then sends the information to a C2, a command and control server, and that server actually is the one. Okay, so if this customer, if it matches all these different variables, do this. But if it's Windows is coming from Google and that, do this. Or if it's just coming from the website, and if a Linux box, ignore it completely, don't do anything. So that cloaking capability is what makes it very interesting as well.
And this is a side question. I didn't plan this, but could you, well, let's say you can detect whether an LLM is going to a page to crawl it. Can you inject any prompts there that potentially could get somewhere?
There are ways. There are like I've seen
Can you
different
catch
LLMs.
agents? Can you catch agents?
We can catch agents. We're launching a new product that's called Smart Weapon Threat. She also actually reads that. But the main problem with LLMs, and call it Anthropic, call it OpenAI, is that some of them have also the ability to spoof the user agent. So even though they might be, I don't know, let's say Anthropic, but they will use like a Chrome or like a Safari user agent and a different IP. It's very hard to detect if they're LLMs or not. You might be able to detect it by the rate of the traffic that they've seen, but it's really tough to do it. And different providers have different approaches. For instance, you can see CloudFlare doing the JavaScript checking for that. And one of the ones that have been leading on the charge about blocking LLM traffic is CloudFlare. They have an option for that. But like, it's very hard to actually block that. And it has to be like a joint effort. Some customers that actually do need LLM traffic to get for customer to be a recommendation for customer asking. Because right now, like we know the search engine, it's over. We're in an agentic era. So people are asking LLMs, hey, where's my nearest restaurant? Or what's the restaurant? Or what's the menu? So that goes and that will send the LLMs going crawling to your site. And if you block sites altogether, or LLMs altogether, you might be losing that traffic as well. So it's really tough.
Coming back to the cloaking thing a little bit, because essentially, right, what it means is if actually I'm seeing a case like this. Was a new customer that came on. They had a website. They checked the ad landing page, and it looks perfectly okay. And turned out that actually the traffic coming from, I think, Facebook ads was being redirected, but only that traffic. So they didn't find out until I think about $200,000 later. So that was that's a big cost for an agency to eat, because the client wasn't going to pay for it. So that's big. As you said, it takes time for people to even realize that something has happened. Would you have any
the really good
idea
the really good malware is very good at cloaking, and there are malware that you're gonna see. They're gonna scream at you right there, and you can do a check, and you can see on the circles on the front page. But if it has a cloaking technique, and you don't have like a server or an antivirus engine that is checking the files and the database as well, not only checking, because like people think that just checking the front end is enough. Sometimes it's not enough. There's malware that's hiding inside. The fact that you don't see anything, just like you were properly like remarking, the fact that the landing page is working well doesn't mean that the site is not infected. It means that the infection might not be seen. Just like when a person has cancer or starting cancer, you'll see the person normally, but you don't know that he's sick. So you need something that like an X-ray machine, which is like a core antivirus, actually help you understand what's happening on the files. But not only on the files, because most websites depend on two things: files and the database. So you have to actually be mindful of those two as well.
Yeah. But would you have a rough idea of like how long on average these infections go undetected before somebody goes, oh?
It's tough because it varies from website to website. I don't have an exact time of what it does, of like how much do they take to realize things. Most of the people only realize after their website was blacklisted by Google, or they were blacklisted by these other security providers, and they see this big red page, or they get a call from the customer, hey, I'm using McAfee or Norton or Symantec or Sophos, and it's not letting me. Tell me your website is bad. and then they go and realize, oh, so something happened on my website, and they go to blame the hosting company. And the hosting company, hey, you do have an infection, and here are your options. You can either, these are the services to clean your website. You can, the problem is like you are on the basic plan and you don't have anti-malware protection, and somebody might get into your website because you don't have alerts, you don't have monitoring. So it's important that you actually move to the next tier so we can help you. And hosting companies try to do their best to provide suggestions for the customers, but at the end of the day, it's a shared responsibility. It's not only for the hosting companies to actually solve the problem, but it's a problem that we also sometimes generate ourselves as users, using the same password, using like admin123, or using the same password for our email, for our bank account, for our website. And so we have to also take responsibility in improving our security posture when it comes to our own online presence. Call it e-commerce website, call it your Stripe account as well, which we've seen some people hacking into Stripe accounts and changing the bank accounts and making the deposit for that customer change. So all the different things that can happen.
Yeah, you can't just put it on one solution and say, no, I'm good forever. You have to really think about all the different clever ways that people might fit in. It is fascinating. It is a fascinating work.
Yeah.
On that note, I'll ask you, just to wrap things up, another general question. We started with a general question, let's end with a general question. But I'll ask, with AI developing at such a speed, it's weekly, we're seeing new developments. What do you think? What would the threat landscape look like in a year from now?
I think we'll see more evolved malware and more evolved like all exploit kits that I've seen, that they are, instead of just doing like regular, just do me an uploader, do me a fake plugin, do me something more complex, like we've seen in the past that used to take a lot of time to actually create. An attacker that would try to exploit cPanel, for example, which is a file with 3,000 line longs, and would just run it, and it will go over looking for cPanel accounts, trying to brute force them and trying to gain access. I think we'll see more of that. I believe I pushed an article to our blog like a month ago about a framework that I would see that's been developed, that actually where they were just providing a list of WordPress websites, and the system will try to actually look for weak usernames and plugins, and try to upload a fake plugin and try to reinfect the site and trying to do different things. So I think we're going to see more of that, more automated, more complex malware rather than more simple one. There's going to be a lot of script kiddies that are going to byte code, and I'm going to do my first exploit, or I'm going to do my first web shell, which is going to be pretty easy. But I'm not really afraid of. What I'm more interested in, the more knowledgeable threat actors that are really good at coding. And what LLM is really good at, if you're really good at coding, it can exponentially like improve your performance. But if you're starting in coding, you don't have enough knowledge, it will give you the basics, not really well. But my biggest fear is for those threat actors that are really good, how these LLMs, it's going to help them exponentially create even more dangerous malware.
Yeah. What a dark note to wrap on. But that's something we have to think about. And that's, I think, as us working on the defensive side, we got to keep up, right? So I think it's got to be an interesting time.
That's why we're trying to leverage AI for the same thing. Yeah. You use AI to create bad things. We're using AI to protect from those bad things that AI creates as well.
It's like an eternal cat and mouse game. So it just goes on and on.
It's a never-ending game, yeah.
On that slightly more positive note, Sal, thank you so much for joining me here. This has been really interesting to me. I think interesting to everybody else as well. I'll just say, if you want to read more about Monarx's findings, plus the Patchstack findings for 2026, I'll put the link to the white papers somewhere in the comments, whether on LinkedIn, YouTube, whatever. But yeah, thanks for joining me, and have a good one.
Thank you for the invite. It's always a pleasure.
All right. Cheers.